I did nothing but drink myself to a bloody oblivion, Caylie.
Been there. Here's some Bible verses. I love you, but I don't accept it.
I tried to like hook up with guys. I had the fear of God set within every cell in my being.
Goes back to that fear of the potential of loss.
I needed to be accepted. Hey, welcome to Powerful Shares. I'm here to connect. I'm Melissa, and here we discuss powerful stories, hoping to connect with different groups of people out there because we are not alone in our struggles. Today, we are talking about coming out of the closet, and my guest is Caylie, and she is going to share with us her story of coming out as a lesbian. So, Caylie, so good to see you. Thank you for coming.
Oh, Melissa, so good to be here. Thank you so much. I love the saying, coming out of the closet. I feel like it's one of those things that's like never going away, even though it seems so ancient. It's like, when's the last time someone was like literally in a closet and then came out and was like, hey, I'm gay?
I know. Where did that even come from?
I have no idea. We're gonna have to Google that.
I feel like this topic is so important. Yeah. And it's like we both met in the middle where we didn't realize until we were in college. And it's like,
yeah,
you took a route where you had a little more grace with yourself.
Yeah.
You went this way, I went this way.
Yeah.
And there's a distinction on like how that has an impact on substances, mental health, safety.
100%.
Right? So I feel like us both sharing is so necessary.
Mm-hmm. I believe that our purpose on this earth is connection.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
That's it.
That's it.
And what connection is love. And that is grace, you know? So I'm from a really small town in Texas. West Texas, Bible Belt, you know, George Bush was born like 45 minutes away from my hometown, called Big Spring. Population like 25,000, 5,000 people are prisoners there. Just little fun facts. But so I was raised Southern Baptist. I went to church every Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. I was part of a youth group. I went to church camp during the summertime. Like, I was hardcore Southern Baptist because that was like our community. And that's just like what you did. Like, that's just how I was conditioned. And there were some, you know, good things about it. There's also some really like bad things about it. Being from this small town in West Texas, when you talked about gay, or if anybody talked about gay when I was growing up, it wasn't a good thing, you know? Mainly people just didn't talk about it. It didn't exist. It didn't exist in our media. It didn't exist, you know, on TV. We didn't have YouTube back then. Like, oh God, that sounds so old. Like, we didn't have YouTube. But like, we didn't have access. We didn't have the awareness of what really gay was. And if it was mentioned, it was like, oh, that's a sin.
Right. It was like so foreign.
Foreign is the best word for it. Yes. Totally foreign. So like, when I was in high school, you know, I was like, a popular kid. I wasn't a mean girl. I was just nice to everybody. I was a class clown, you know. I made good grades. And so I dated guys, you know, all throughout, not even just high school, junior high, elementary school. I was getting in trouble for kissing a boy in kindergarten. So like my entire youth, I was, you know, I loved men. So I thought, or I loved boys, I guess at that time. And yeah, I had sex with dudes, I dated dudes, and it was just that's what you're supposed to do, and it didn't feel wrong. I guess I just was just doing what everybody else did. But anyway, but I didn't know that's what I was doing because I wasn't aware of it yet. Okay, so fast forward to my stereotypical freshman year in college.
Okay.
I get out of my small hometown. I go to school in Austin, Texas, which is much bigger than my small hometown. It's like I'm seeing all these different religions for the first time, all these different races. I'm just surrounded by different cultures. It's like a whole new world has just opened up for me. And there's this girl that I meet, and we start going to all of these frat parties together, and we start getting like drunk and making out with each other a lot. Like, not just at the party, but then like after the party. And then her name is, should I say her actual name?
Nah.
Okay, let's just call her, what's a cool name? Sky. Let's just call her Sky. So I meet Sky, we're making out at all these parties, and then one day after a party, we like get in the back of my car and we start doing more than just kissing. And I'm like, holy fudge.
Wait, so were you hammered?
Most of the time, whenever I was hooking up with her, I was drinking.
Okay. But so it started off as drinking, right?
Started off as drinking.
Okay. And then after frat parties, you'd still be making out, but obviously is still under the influence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely still under the influence. But then at one point it stopped being under the influence. So then maybe like, 3 weeks or so, I guess, after like that first, like more than just kissing, like we're actually touching each other. We are
In the back of your car?
in the back of my car in a Kohl's parking lot.
Oh my gosh.
Off the highway.
Oh my gosh.
And we're like, having sex with each other in the back seat. And she like stops me and she looks at me and she was like, oh my God. And I was like, what? She goes, I think I'm gay. And I was like, wah. I just like saw things flashing and I was like, oh my God, Sky, I think I am too. And then I was like, okay. Then we both just like stopped and we sat there and then we were like, well, what do we do about this? And we decided, okay, let's just be friends and we'll just start from there. We're like, yeah, cool. Let's just be friends. And then the next day we hooked up again. And she was like, I think I can't just be friends with you. And I was like, I can't just be friends with you either. And so
this time was drunk?
No, this was all sober. And the Kohl's parking lot was sober too. It was like all very, I think that's when it became real, when we started like, having sex without the intoxication. We couldn't just use the excuse of the drunkenness anymore for our actions. It was like, no, this is actually real. And oh my gosh, I have a lot of feelings. And yeah, so basically I fell in love for the first time ever. I realized then, I was like, I'd never been in love with any of those dudes. I'd actually like back in high school deliberately stopped dating guys my senior year. I was like, I'm not dating anybody, I'm done. And I thought it was just because I knew I was going off to college. But when I look back, I'm like, no, it's because I just wasn't interested in them at all. Okay, so Sky and I have this newfound like relationship. We're super in love. I think we're both feeling these feelings again that I've never felt in my life. And we tell our roommates are because we were both living in dorms, and our roommates were like, dude, we knew y'all were sleeping next to each other in a twin size bed every single night. Like, of course y'all are like hooking up. I'm like, all right, cool.
Wait a second. You had the confidence to tell your roommates?
Immediately.
Wow.
Because especially, Sky's roommate was very open. She was very cool. And yeah, so she was like, I don't care. Y'all are cool. Y'all can, be here whenever, whatever. My roommate was Mormon. And so I was really scared to tell her, but I ended up telling her, and like, she was cool about it. Like, everybody was like really cool. So that it gave us our first like, oh, okay, that feels nice. But like immediately, like, I think when making that decision of not just realizing I'm gay, but realizing, okay, now we're going to be in a relationship. Not only am I gay, I'm choosing to be in a relationship. So I'm like putting my gayness into action in a way, Then my first thoughts, like my family and I was like, there's no way I'm going to tell them right now. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. I was telling, the roommates. I told, I remember the moment I told my best friend at the time, a few of my best friends from back home, from my hometown, and they were all like, oh, Caylie, we knew. I was like,
for real?
Yes, dude. Yes. These girls, I still love them. I text them like every day. And they're like, dude, you wore, long basketball shorts like the entire senior year of high school. And they were like, that was a giveaway. I'm like, oh, fuck, you're right. All right. I did. So yeah, they were all really cool about it. And then it's interesting. My oldest brother, Cliff. Yeah, he's 6 years older than me. He came out to me back when probably I was probably 16. So he was probably like 20, 21.
So you were in high school?
I was in high school. And he told me, I remember exactly where I was in my Mitsubishi Montero Sport, driving down the main road in our little hometown. And he told me that I was the last one that he was telling that he was gay because he was scared that I was going to take it the hardest. And whenever he told me that, I was like, whoa, that's really unfortunate. Like, why would he think that? And there was a little seed planted in my head, I think at that time, of like, I think maybe I am too, but I didn't listen to it. And all of this is reflecting back on those little moments. But yes, so my oldest brother, Cliff, came out to me when I was 16. So when I came out, he was one of the first ones I came out to. I called him because I was like, he's cool. He's my brother. He's gay. He'll understand. So I called him. He didn't believe me. That was like the first, I was like, whoa. He's like, Caylie, you dated like all of these guys. You had like posters of men on your wall. I had like a Heath Ledger poster, you know, God, rest in peace. But yeah, I was like, yeah, Cliff, but this is how I feel.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, well, what, are you going to tell mom? I'm like, not right now. I'm not going to tell mom. So Sky and I had been together for a year. I took her home to meet my family without them knowing.
Okay.
So they thought she was just like my best friend in college. You know, I took her on our family vacations to the lake. Like, so my parents like really got to know Sky really well and like really loved her. It's just like, oh, it's just like Caylie's best friend. So a year after Sky and I had been dating, I finally send my other brother. His name's Chad. He was super religious, super Christian. Him and I didn't get along in high school. He told on me for everything. He told on me for drinking. He told on me for smoking. He told on me for everything because I was like a little partier and he was like a little goody two-shoes, right? I wrote him a Facebook message and I said, hey, I'm going to tell you first. I don't know when I'm going to tell mom, but you know, this is what's happening with me and Sky. I fell in love. I'm gay. At the time I was still religious. And so I was talking about God in this Facebook message saying like, you know, like God and I have a great relationship and like Sky and I's relationship is getting stronger with God. Like I was trying to like feed all these God things, I think, to make myself feel less shameful about it in a way. And maybe to like hopefully have my brother see that, I don't know, gay isn't a sin in some way. So the response back I get from my brother is that he thinks I'm living in sin. He thinks you live in what? Sin.
Oh, in sin.
I'm living in sin. He had put his sin away of pride, and we all live in sin. But the fact that I'm like in a homosexual relationship is I'm choosing to live in sin. And I was just like, this is kind of like what I expected, right? I come from a very religious family. I knew that my other brother would feel this way. I just kind of knew what to expect. And then my mom, she was the same as my brother Chad, of like, here's some Bible verses. I love you, but I don't accept it. You know, you'll still be a part of our lives. We still love Sky, you know.
Did you write her a message or did you just tell her?
I wrote her a message. I wrote Chad a Facebook message, and within that same Facebook message, I basically had received an email from my mom asking me if I was gay because of another family member was talking about it with her concerning mine and Sky's relationship. And so my mom was asking me. And so at that point I was like, I'm just going to tell everybody. So I was almost forced to come out in a way, but it was like, it was time. And I wanted to really lay it out for both my brother and my mom so that they understood where I was coming from, basically so they wouldn't judge me, even though I knew they were going to judge me, you know, anyway. I knew they were. What's interesting about my brother Chad, I remember him saying is like, you know, because I told him he was one of the last people that I told. And he was like, you know, I really am sad that I'm one of the last people that you told. And that's how I felt about my brother Cliff coming out to me. And so it's just like very interesting where that's the first reaction. And I think to me, it means like, man, my family like really does love me. So there was like some weird gratitude that came along with all of this. Cause I'm like, they wanted to be closer to me, and they wanted me to let them know so that they could understand my life in a way, even though it's not the life that they would choose for me. That's for sure. So I still brought Sky home. Like I didn't ask if I could still bring her home. I just did. I still brought her to my family vacations. And yeah, it was a interesting time too, because how do I put this right? When I wrote that email to my mom about me being gay, and I got all these Bible verses back, told me that I'm living in sin, right? She's like, I asked her to tell my dad, because I didn't have the guts. I didn't have the guts to tell my dad. I definitely didn't want to tell one side of my grandparents. The other side, I was like, it was my mom's parents. I was like, Mom, you can tell your parents. I just don't want to tell them. Like, it's so much, it just felt like so much energy, and it was just going to be so many conversations. And I knew in my head how all these conversations were going to go. And so, yeah, apparently my dad bawled his eyes out, and, my dad and I really never talked about it until later on. But yeah, I still took Summer home, and then, we eventually broke up, we actually, going back to the family part, whenever I told my mom and my brother, and they both came at me with Bible stuff, my whole family started to find out little by little. And so the next time that we were invited to the family vacations, the person inviting us, this family member, said no boyfriends, no girlfriends allowed anymore. And that's basically because I had been bringing my girlfriend, my brother had been bringing his boyfriend, right. And they were like, no gays at the lake.
Wow.
So what was cool about that, though, is the brother who threw Bible verses at me, he stood up for us, and he was like, listen, if Cliff and Caylie can't go, then I'm not going. Then you don't get any of us.
Oh, they said that you guys couldn't go?
They basically just said, don't bring your significant other. Right. And to us, we were like, well, then we're not going to go.
Right.
So we just said, if that's the case, if that's your stipulation, then no. We're standing firm, and everyone should be invited. If not everyone, then okay, we're out. Sorry.
Wow.
Sorry, not sorry. And so then, yeah, Chad was like, I'm not going to go either. And I think that's when Chad first started kind of seeing this discrimination and being like, oh, I don't want to be on that side of discriminating against my brother and my sister. Because at this point, he's my straight brother who's got two gay siblings. And
it's just the three of you,
right?
And
it's just the three of us.
Okay, so is he in between you and Cliff?
Yep.
Okay, so you're the youngest.
I'm the youngest. Cliff is the oldest. Chad's in the middle. Yeah, and Chad's the only straight one. And then there's two gay ones. So it's like, it's just been an interesting 180. Would you say, or is it a 360? No, because 360 would land you back in the same place. 180 from where Chad stood then, back in 2007? God. 2007 to, 2024. It's
wow.
He's not religious. He's not religious anymore. He's more than accepting. Yeah, it's insane. And same with my mom and my dad. So my coming out was, compared to so many people, it was okay.
Yeah.
I didn't get shunned from my family. Yes, of course I didn't fully get invited to places sometimes. But even that stuff went away, because I think for me, when people started realizing that the cost was going to be me not showing up, that they would lose me out of their life, then that wasn't a cost they were willing to take on anymore. They were just going to be like, you know what? Okay, we're going to try to figure out how to make this more inclusive for everybody. And so the last people I came out to were my grandparents, Ma and Pa. They are still in my hometown. They're still with us.
Amazing.
Yeah. I am born on my grandmother's 50th birthday.
Whoa.
August 29th. Yeah. So I will turn 36 and she will turn 86 this year. Yeah. She's a G, Ma. So Ma and Pa are, again, from my hometown, very small, very conservative, very simple, very Southern Baptist. Probably about 5 or 6 years ago, gosh, maybe even 7. I don't know why, but one time when I went back home to Texas, or back to Big Spring, I wanted to sit down and talk to them about it for the first time. Because I hadn't really ever gotten to talk to them about it, and I just wanted to explain myself in a way. And so I sat at my grandmother's and grandfather's like kitchen table and talked with them for like 5 hours about me being gay, you know, what it means. And I tried to explain it to my grandmother. I was like, you know, like, Ma, when you saw Pa for the first time and you got like butterflies in your stomach and you couldn't control that, like how do you explain that? You don't choose to have those feelings inside of you. They're just there because you see this person and there's something about them that you're like, gets you all excited and nervous. And she was like, yeah, she's like, no, I understand. And it's the same thing. It's always like, you know, we love you. And we accept you. We just don't understand. We just don't understand. And, you know, for someone who's 86 years old now, I kind of get it. You know, I can't give them crap for like automatically turning into a progressive, you know, advocate for gay rights. I'm like, they've seen and been through times where like schools were segregated, you know? Basically,
right.
I can't fault them for their own conditioning.
Right. It's almost like their response was progressive for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's all I would do. I'm so grateful for that. I'm, again, beyond grateful for the experience I had coming out, because there are so many horror stories that I hear that I'm like, man, I'm just so blessed that I have such a good family. Like, I have such a good family. At the end of the day, what I knew through all that, even when I was that young, even when I was like 18, 19 years old coming out, I knew my family was going to love me. That brings me to when my dad, finally, we were at the lake that we all went to every summer. And this was like 5 years after I'd come out, but I'd never talked to him about it. My dad was like, you know, we were sitting on the boat and I think me and Cliff started talking about being gay and in front of my dad, and my dad just like comes over there and he's like, you know, people are just people. And I was like,
cool.
Yes, Dad. Like, it's so simple. I just wish everybody could be that simple-minded in that way, because it really is. It just really comes down to like we're all just people, and well, especially if no one's hurting anybody, then what's the problem? But
right.
So yeah, I'm really, really grateful. And I know when you and I have talked about this, you say we have similar but different.
We do.
Okay, what happened with you?
We do. We have similar but different. So this is what I will say, right? I was not nearly as brave. I was not nearly as okay. In hindsight, I feel like a lot of what I'm about to say is going to be like coming from hindsight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%, dude. I reflect so much. Yeah.
Okay, so 80s baby, right? Grew up in the North Shore of Massachusetts, and it was very much just one way. Not much diversity at all. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And so that was kind of like my conditioning, you know, just like all white people, and
but you didn't know any different, right?
That's it.
Yep.
That's all we knew. So anyway, I wasn't trying to stand out. I just wanted to be normal like everybody else. So throughout college and high school, it's like I liked boys, but I think I was just so focused on like school that I didn't really let myself get wrapped up into anybody. And then I went to college. It was like I was just kind of like really focused on like field, because I played field hockey in college and school. So that was kind of just like the grain. And then my junior year, I like, this is ridiculous.
Yay.
So then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, my junior year in college, I'm in one of the dining halls. I'm across the buffet from this girl, and I look across, and like we lock eyes. That was it. Isn't that ridiculous?
That is amazing.
That is ridiculous. So I was just like, okay, well, at the time I didn't know. So lock eyes with her, and I'm just like, okay, like who's that? And then I ran into her at a few parties, and then we became friends and like buddies and like would drink together and like whatever. And then I think she actually confessed her feelings to me first.
Ooh.
Yeah. But that was basically it. And then, but I felt the same way. So that was basically it though. And then from there, it was nothing but turmoil. Okay. So I was not okay with this. This was a huge shock to my system. I did not see this coming at all.
I have so many questions already about like what this shock that you felt. Is it, were you,
I didn't want to be different.
what did different mean to you?
Nobody had these stories. We didn't even, just like you, we didn't have, like, there were, I think, a few gay people in high school, but I also feel like they were ostracized in a sense. And I didn't want that to be me, and I didn't want to be different. Like, I wanted to have like very similar stories as like all my friends and like my family and whatever. And I already knew my life was going to look different. So I didn't want to be different. And I had a very, very hard time with accepting myself. The biggest issue with this, the hardest person on myself was me. It's because I didn't want to be different. My family was so Italian Catholic that I didn't even see how this was going to be a possibility. I didn't even see how I could tell anybody about this. So I suffered in silence for years. Girl, years.
Oh.
And like, I'm just like smitten kitten, crazy in love. It happened like that, right? So now I realize, whoa, all those feelings I had for boys, that was nothing compared to this.
Yep.
So I'm crazy in love, and this feeling is like, oh my goodness. But I'm also grappling with the fact of like, who am I? What is this? Like, what made that so much worse was that she also was I guess for us, we were too young for ourselves to be able to deal with this. She was too young to be able to wrap her head around this. So for her, it's like, although we stayed in communication and she would come visit time to time, she then got a boyfriend. She just jumped right back into the straight life.
Wow.
Right? So for me, though, I didn't have the capacity to do that. I was so hung up on this. So now I am heartbroken, crushed. But she would still talk to me and like hook up with me when she saw me. So it was like sort of being like, what's the word?
Not teased, but
like dragged along.
Dragged along, yeah.
Yeah, I was like dragged along, but this is all a secret still. Nobody knows anything. And
like nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
So you're having an identity crisis while this
is happening. So I'm crazy in love with her. She's got a boyfriend. She's dragging me along and nobody knows anything. So I was going through such an identity crisis, emotional turmoil, heartbreak, all at once. And I must have been, 21, 22? This disaster went on for 4 years with this girl.
No.
It was an absolute nightmare for me. Like I didn't have the guts. I didn't have the courage. I didn't have the security. I didn't have the worthiness at all, Caylie. My life was shattered. The idea of who I was crumbled. And that for me was a massive identity crisis based on how I was raised, the conditioning that I had. This was so taboo. This was so not okay. I had family members, when they would see a minority walking down the street, they would say something racist. When they saw a gay person walking down the street, they would say something racist. And so I had the fear of God set within every cell in my being. And I couldn't handle all of this. I remember very slowly I would like talk about this person. So when I then finally told my sister and then finally told my friends from home, it was like, okay, they didn't make a big deal out of it. It was fine. Now, my friends from home, I felt safe telling them because I had a friend who went to school in New Hampshire and one of her college friends came out as a lesbian. And I saw how she responded to her.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, I think it's safe.
Yep.
Basically, very quickly after I met her, I went into crisis mode. And I tried to distract myself in different ways. I still could not tell my mom. I could not tell my grandmother. I could not tell like the people in my family other than my sister. I did nothing but drink myself to a bloody oblivion, Caylie.
Been there.
To a bloody oblivion. I would get with guys. I tried to like hook up with guys and basically sleep the gay away.
That doesn't work.
That didn't work. I just jumped right into a graduate program for architecture and it came out of nowhere. And that only lasted though, I think a year because I was able to, and I was living in Boston at the time, I was able to distinguish the fact that I was doing this because I couldn't handle myself. Mm-hmm. I got literally like all A's because I just buried myself into the schoolwork to do whatever I could to get away from the gay. Other than that was just drinking very heavily to a dangerous point where literally friends, family, people were concerned. So what was known was that I was a very heavy drinker and a very heavy partier. But what people didn't know was that I was suffering immensely. Okay? I think in hindsight now, my sister and my friends probably knew, but I think that they were also, at that time, everybody's involved and wrapped up in their own life. You know, it's right after college, trying to figure out the next step. They probably didn't understand like the severity of it, you know, but what they did see was how dangerous I was like living my life in a sense. I knew that I had to get away. I had to go find myself, go figure myself out. And I knew I couldn't do it there. It was too conservative, right? Meanwhile, back at the ranch, we all know that Massachusetts is a blue state. It's like the first to legalize gay marriage or whatever. But being in the condition I was in back then, that wasn't something that I could remotely even process or be realistic about because of the crisis that I was in. Mm-hmm. So I got myself a job with a retail store. And they basically transferred me across the country. Right. So I came out here, not because of the industry, not because I was interested in film or anything like that, but because I was just trying to stay alive.
Yep.
But here's the thing, I still wasn't brave. I had my sister tell my whole family that I was gay. Everybody. I couldn't tell my mom, I couldn't tell anybody. It was tragic. And I look back now and I'm like, wow, that was so hard for me. Why? Like, because now I feel like kids have more awareness.
Yeah.
This generation has more awareness. Obviously, like acceptance, all of that has like changed so much, but that was life and death for me.
Mm-hmm. First off, what did your mom say?
So my sister told the family, and how she told the family, I don't know. I think she was just like pretty casual about it. She just felt so bad, and she was very emotional. She just didn't understand why I couldn't tell her.
Yep.
And I just told her because at the end of the day, the biggest crisis was within myself. Mm-hmm. Now, it's fine.
Going back to like your original life plan, what did that look like?
I didn't have a vision, but what I knew was that the vision wasn't what it was going to set out to be now.
Yeah.
At that time, you know, being gay was not very, now it's more mainstream. Yeah. Back then it wasn't.
Thank God.
This was not okay in my father's world. This was not okay in my grandmother's world, a Catholic Italian. This was not okay. And so I feel like the suffering in silence, that was really where the damage was made, because so much shame kicked in, so much hate, self-hate came in, so much like lack of, like I felt so worthless. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's what happens in silence when you're suffering. It's like
you have nobody.
You're telling yourself your own stories. Nobody to soundboard off. Like, it's just a cycle of endless stories that you're telling yourself, that there's no outside validation, or it's just all you.
Right. There's nobody to say, oh, hey, same.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like in AA.
Or, hey, that's okay.
Right.
You know?
Right. Like in AA, it's like they share stories because so much healing is in sharing.
Yeah.
And you find community.
Yeah.
I had no one. And when I slowly told friends from school, and slowly told my sister, and slowly told my friends from home, they were like, that's okay. But they couldn't relate.
Yeah.
They couldn't give feedback. They couldn't do anything to take the pain away.
Yeah.
Because they were just as in the dark as I was. It was so foreign to them. They didn't have any feedback. They didn't know what to do or what to say.
Yeah.
Suffering in silence is genuinely it's so deadly, Caylie.
It is. And you don't know that you're doing it.
You don't know that you're doing it.
No.
You just have nobody that you can talk to. You have nobody to lean on. Nobody to tell you it's going to be okay. And the thing is that like, oh my gosh, it is totally going to be okay.
Yeah. It's not that you don't have anybody to tell it to. It's that you're choosing not to because of the fear.
Because of the fear.
I think one of the differences between you and I in our stories is like, in the inside of myself, I knew that it was okay. You know, like I knew that I had a lot of self-love. And so I knew I was like, I love myself. I know this feels right. And therefore I'm not scared or ashamed.
I don't think there was a defining moment where I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with myself.
Yeah.
I think it was like a progressive thing that took time.
Yeah.
Girl, when I say I drank myself to a bloody oblivion, I'm not kidding. I did anything I could to run away from the gay.
Yeah.
And then so in between, somewhere within there, I toggled back and forth. It was like, no, I'm bi. No, I'm a lesbian. No, I'm bi. No, I'm a lesbian. But the fact that I was even putting so much pressure on myself to have a label, there's so much turmoil and crisis within yourself within that.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, well, no, I can't be a lesbian if I have a crush on this guy. So I must be both. But I don't believe, but then I was doing this to myself. I don't believe that I can be both. It's just, I am gay. And the reason why I'm having bisexual feelings is because I'm not comfortable with being gay. The stuff I was putting myself through.
Again, it goes back to that fear of the potential of loss.
Right.
And so your sister has nothing to lose when she's just sharing the information that you're sharing with her. But you, if you were to, tell your entire family, in that moment, you're like, oh my God, I'm about to lose everybody.
Right.
And I think that's the thing about you saying, oh, I just wanted to be normal, saying, I just wanted to fit in. I just wanted to be a part of the community.
Yeah.
I just wanted the human connection to still be connected. I didn't want to be ostracized. I wanted connection. That's why I said it all comes back to that.
Connection.
That's what you were scared of. Like,
Girl.
That's what I was scared of. Like, that's what everybody who's coming out is scared of, losing these connections they have with the people that they love in their life. And it's just terrifying.
I needed to be accepted.
And the fear of not being that is what drove
Me
you to just keep it all inside.
But the thing is, like I said, I didn't even have the awareness of how I was responding to this. I was just responding. It went just straight into crisis. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
It wasn't a thing where I could stop myself and be rational.
Yeah.
That wasn't even an option.
You were in survival mode.
Survival mode. I think the biggest thing for this share, right, is so anybody that might be in that position now.
Yeah.
Times have changed. So sorry.
Times
have changed. So thank God for that. But
still not perfect.
I think that when somebody in a moment realizes, and this is where I think what we both have in common, realizes like, oh gosh, I'm not the person I thought I was.
Yeah.
That can go one of two ways. You can be very easy and delicate with yourself, or you can really beat the crap out of yourself.
Yep.
If there's anything that came out of my experience, it's to share so people realize, like, no, you have somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you're going through.
Yep.
You don't have to suffer in silence. Like, you don't have to hate yourself. You know what I mean? There are people that can relate to you.
Yeah. I think that's what that suffering turns into, is hate, like we've talked about, like with yourself. And that's just so unfortunate. There are so many people in this world.
Yeah.
No one is perfect. Kind of like what my dad said. People are just people.
People are just people.
Accept everybody, then people won't have as hard a time accepting themselves.
Right.
Because they don't have this social big brother looking down, putting this pressure on them that people aren't even aware of, that that's an actual pressure in their life. You know?
Right.
To live up to this standard. And it's like,
yeah.
Sometimes I just don't want to have a standard at all. I just want to just be me. And
right.
That's just the way I feel like it should be.
I know. I just hope for others that are questioning their sexuality or like identity, that they can move through it, giving themselves some grace and some like room to breathe.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah. I think when someone's like debating whether they're gay or whether to come out, I think it really is to think about what's going to make you feel free inside, because you will always have people, whether it's the family that's close to you or the, I don't know, best friends. There will be people who will love you for who you are.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
No matter if they're chosen family or you're the family you were born into. But I think it's more about the love and the relationship you have with yourself and the freedom that could come from just being yourself. Because there's so much freedom in being true with your own alignment of who you know that you are deep down inside. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, girl. Thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me. Sorry I drank all your water.
What do you mean? It's yours. I poured it for you. No, for real. Thank you for coming on and sharing, and then and then we flipped and I shared. That was cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you gained something from this content. If you are struggling with the coming out process in any form, you're not alone. There's so many people out there that can relate with you. Even just jumping online on YouTube, you'll find so many people, and you will definitely find community. If you liked this content, please like, share, and subscribe. And however you listen to your podcast, please like, share, and subscribe as well. And if you have a powerful story that you would love to showcase, please email at powerfulshares, I'm here to connect, @gmail.com, and we will see you next time.